I refused to RSVP to my sister's wedding because I'm required to write an application essay just to attend. My sister Claire has always been extra, but this takes the cake. She texted me last month saying I needed to fill out some paperwork for her wedding. I figured it was just dietary restrictions or whatever. But then she sent me a Google Doc titled Wedding Guest Application due March 15th. The first question was normal enough. Name plus 1 food allergies. But then it got weird. Question 4 asked me to describe in 500 words why I deserved to attend her special day. Question 7 wanted a detailed explanation of my relationship with the bride and what positive impact I've had on her life. Question 12 literally asked for 3 professional references who could vouch for my character. I called her thinking it was a joke. She answered on speaker with her fiancé Trevor in the background. She told me she was trying to create a curated experience with only people who truly supported their love. Apparently some wedding planner on TikTok convinced her that application essays would filter out fake friends and family drama. I told her this was insane, and that I'm her brother not applying for college. She said blood relation doesn't automatically guarantee an invitation, and that I needed to prove I cared enough to put in effort. Trevor chimed in saying they were only inviting high-value individuals who aligned with their vision. The whole thing was 15 pages long. There were questions about my 5-year goals, my thoughts on marriage as an institution, and even a section asking me to analyze their relationship strengths. One question asked me to write a short poem about their love story. Another wanted me to design a creative PowerPoint explaining why I should be included in their wedding photos. The deadline was 2 weeks away when she sent it. She also mentioned that applications would be reviewed by her, Trevor, and their wedding party, and that decisions would be made based on essay quality, creativity, and demonstrated commitment to their happiness. I found out later she sent this same application to everyone, our parents, our grandparents, even Trevor's 5-year-old nephew. Our dad called me laughing because question 8 asked him to describe how he planned to contribute to the wedding success beyond just showing up. Mom was furious. She spent 3 hours writing essays about how she raised Claire and deserved basic respect. Grandma tried to fill it out, but got confused and accidentally submitted it half-finished. Our cousin Jake wrote, "This is stupid" for every answer and got rejected. The best part was when I talked to Trevor's sister, Amy. She told me she wrote serious answers, but got waitlisted because her essay about their relations hip was too generic and lacked authentic emotional depth. She's known Trevor for literally 23 years. Claire's best friend from college got accepted, but only after rewriting her essay twice. Apparently, her first draft didn't demonstrate enough investment in the couple's journey, and her second one was to focus on Claire instead of their partnership. I decided not to submit anything. When Claire called asking where my application was, I told her I don't audition to be someone's brother. She went off about how I never support her, and that this proved I didn't care about her happiness. She said if I couldn't be bothered to write a few essays, I obviously didn't want to be there. I told her I'd attended every important event in her life, without needing to write a book report first. She hung up on me. 3 days later, she texted saying there was still time to submit a late application for $50 extra processing fee. Her wedding is next month. Half the guest list got rejected, including our uncle who wrote a beautiful essay but used a wrong font. The other half are people who apparently peaked in creative writing. And that's where things really started to go downhill. Because as the RSVPs came in and Claire started seeing how many people didn't meet the standard, she doubled down. She began posting long Instagram stories about how not everyone deserves access to your energy, and how her wedding would be an elite emotional environment. Meanwhile, family group chats were exploding with disbelief. Our aunt said she'd never been so insulted in her life. Grandma kept asking why she needed references just to eat chicken at a reception. Even Trevor's side of the family started quietly dropping out, saying they suddenly had schedule conflicts. Claire sent another round of messages reminding everyone that the wedding would be filmed for a meaningful documentary about their love, and only guests who demonstrated emotional preparedness would be featured. She added another requirement, a 2 to 3 sentence statement confirming attendees would refrain from negative facial expressions. During the ceremony, Mom snapped and said she wasn't signing anything else unless Claire paid her hourly. Dad said he'd only sign if Claire wrote him an essay explaining why she deserved his time. A week later, Claire called me crying. Well, not really crying, more like angry breathing because she realized her curated guest list had dropped from 120 people to 38, and of those, at least 10 were people Trevor had met through crypto discords. She said she couldn't believe everyone was being so dramatic and unsupportive. I told her that maybe making your family write poems and PowerPoints wasn't the loving gesture she thought it was. She insisted this was all about ensuring intentional presence. I said most people just want to show up, clap, eat, dance. and leave without needing to pass a personality assessment. She accused me of minimizing her vision. I said her vision sounded like a cult recruitment process. She hung up again. 2 days later, she texted a screenshot of a Pinterest board with the caption, "This is the energy I expect from my guests." The board had pictures of people smiling like they were in a toothpaste commercial, guests wearing perfectly coordinated pastel outfits, and captions like "Only the best deserve a seat at my table." Dad commented in the group chat, "Does this table serve food or delusion?" Meanwhile, people were comparing their application results like it was the Hunger Games. Some got accepted with conditions, like rewriting their relationship analysis or revising their poem to be emotionally evocative. One rejection literally said, "Your answers lack a cohesive narrative arc." Another said, "We appreciate your enthusiasm, but your energy does not align with our brand." Trevor's cousin got rejected because her reference letters weren't formatted in MLA. Mom found out she actually got provisionally accepted, meaning she needed to revise question 12 because her character references didn't sufficiently articulate her contribution to the emotional success of the ceremony. She was so embarrassed she refused to tell her friends. Dad joked they should start selling tickets to watch the chaos. Then came the rehearsal dinner list. Yes, there was a separate list, and yes, you had to be approved for it. Only people who demonstrated exceptional commitment and above-average creative effort could attend. Our family ended up with exactly one person accepted, Grandma, but only because her half-completed application was interpreted as minimalist conceptual honesty. Grandma didn't even know what that meant. She thought she had pressed the wrong button. The real breaking point came when Claire sent out the seating chart preview. She put "Say rejectees" at a separate table labeled "Needs improvement." People who barely pass were marked "Meets expectations" and the "Exceeds expectations" table was reserved for the creative writing champions, who apparently saw this as their Oscars. Mom said, "If you put me at "Needs improvement, I swear to God I will improve myself right out of that venue." Dad said he'd sit at home. When Claire realized her guest list was now a patchwork of resentful relatives, confused elders, and a handful of overachievers who took this weight as seriously, she panicked again. She called me, asking if maybe I'd reconsider submitting the application just to show solidarity. I told her solidarity does not come with a rubric. She said I was being stubborn. I said she was running her wedding like an internship program. She said I lacked emotional intelligence. I told her emotional intelligence doesn't require MLA formatting. She didn't talk to me again for a week. Then, last night, she sent a final text: "Since you chose not to apply, you will not be admitted to the wedding. I hope in the future you learn to put in effort for the people you love." I simply replied, "Love doesn't require paperwork," and that was it. Apparently, the latest update is that her venue is now threatening to downgrade her package because she no longer has the minimum number of guests required for the premium setup. Trevor is blaming her for sabotaging their aesthetic. Claire is blaming everyone else for failing to show up. And the rest of us? We're just watching the meltdown from a safe, emotional distance story. To my wife stayed at my 60th birthday party, champagne raised, and smiled at 100 guests. Michael and I are selling the farm. Richard's 60 now and struggling managing $3 million in property at his age, irresponsible. We found a buyer. We close in 2 weeks. She squeezed my shoulder. I know Richard will be relieved. He's been such a burden on himself. It's time to let go of his father's legacy and finally live. My son Michael nodded. "We're doing this for you, Dad. Trust us." 100 people applauded. My best friend Bill shouted, "About time, Richard." I sat there staring at my cake and said nothing because 72 hours earlier, I'd found the forged deed in Michael's desk. Found texts between him and my wife calling me a pathetic old man clinging to dirt. Found their plan to put me in a nursing home. And because my father, dead 5 years, left me a video with clear instructions. When they try to take the farm at your 60th birthday, play this for everyone. Let them announce it publicly, then destroy them. I stood, walked to the TV, and inserted a USB drive. Dad left me something to share. My wife's face went white. My son's smile cracked. For 8 minutes, my father revealed everything. The fake deed, Susan's 12-year manipulation, Michael's gambling debts, the nursing home plan. By the end, my wife was screaming. My son had bolted, and I was dialing 911. This is what happened next. Like, subscribe, comment your city. Let's get into it. My name is Richard Coleman. 3 days before my 60th birthday, I drove to my son Michael's Philadelphia apartment to drop off boxes of his childhood things. He wasn't home. Susan had given me a key for emergencies. I put the boxes in his spare room. That's when I saw his desk drawer open, a folder visible inside labeled Coleman Farm Private. Inside were deed transfer documents with my signature. Except I'd never signed anything. A purchase agreement with Ridge Development Corporation. $3 million. Closing August 15th, then the text printouts. Susan to Michael, your father looked pathetic today, struggling with the tractor. He can barely manage the property. We need to move before he ruins it. Michael to Susan, the forged signature is perfect. Once we announce at his party, he'll be too embarrassed to fight back. Who'll believe a 60-year-old over his own family? Susan to Michael. After the sale, I file for divorce. You pay off gambling debts. We split what's left. He ends up in Meadowbrook Assisted Living Memory Care Unit. Michael to Susan. Does he actually have dementia? Or are we just saying that? Susan to Michael. Does it matter? He's old, forgetful, struggles with technology. I've been planting seeds with neighbors for months. Richard's so confused lately. They'll testify if needed. I read those texts 3 times, trying to make them mean something different. My wife thought I was pathetic. My son thought I was a burden. They'd forged my signature and were planning to institutionalize me. My son, the boy I'd worked 80-hour weeks to send to college debt-free. The boy whose gambling debts I paid off twice without telling Susan. My wife of 35 years. The woman I proposed to under an oak tree my grandfather planted. Then I remembered my father's last words. I left you something in the safe deposit box. Instructions say when to open it. I drove straight to the bank. The box contained 1 USB drive. For Richard, open when they try to take the farm. My father's face appeared on screen. Healthy and strong. Richard, if you're watching this, Susan and Michael tried to take the farm. I've known they would for 10 years. 10 years? 12 years ago. Susan came to me privately, asked me to sell the farm and split the money. Said, you were stuck in the past. When I refused, she suggested making Michael co-owner. I said no. That's when I knew she'd eventually try to take it from you. He held up a document. The farm isn't in your name. It's in the Coleman Family Trust, established 1994. You're the trustee. But you cannot sell or transfer it. Michael doesn't qualify. Susan has zero legal claim. He leaned forward with that look I recognized. The expression when outmaneuvering business rivals. 15 years ago, I created a fake deed. I told Susan casually at Christmas that I kept the original in my desk drawer. What I kept there was an expertly forged copy with no legal standing. Despite everything, I almost smiled. If anyone uses that fake deed, they're committing fraud. Multiple felonies. I documented everything. It's all sealed with my attorney. His voice softened slightly. Richard, I know what you're feeling, betrayed. Michael is your son. Susan is your wife. But they don't see you as family anymore. They see you as an obstacle to money. His face darkened. Michael came to me 2 years before I died. Asked me to declare you legally incompetent so he could take the farm. When I refused, he asked if I'd cut you from my will. He said, Dad's not smart enough to manage real wealth. I felt punched in the chest. Here's what you do. Let them announce it at your 60th birthday party. Make it public. Then play this video for everyone. I'm going to tell them everything. The fake deed, Susan's manipulation, Michael's incompetence request, the nursing home plan, their gambling debts. Then call the police and press charges. His expression softened one final time. Son, you didn't lose them because of what you're about to do. You lost them years ago when they decided your father's legacy was worth more than their integrity. Now destroy them completely. The video ended. I called my lawyer immediately. My lawyer confirmed everything. The trust was ironclad. The fake deed was documented. Their plan constituted multiple felonies. You could confront them privately. He said carefully. No. They plan to humiliate me publicly. They get the same treatment. I called my daughter Jennifer in Colorado. I need you home for my birthday. It's important. Is everything okay? Not yet, but it will be. She arrived the morning of the party. As guests filled her backyard, I played my part. The grateful husband, the proud father, the aging farmer, ready to slow down. At 7:00 p.m. Susan stood with her champagne glass. Everyone, Michael, and I have an announcement. We're selling the farm, murmurs from the crowd. Let's be honest, Richard is 60 and struggling, managing $3 million in property at his age. It's irresponsible. My neighbor Ed called out, Susan, that seems harsh. No, Ed, it's reality. I've watched my husband exhaust himself for 5 years, clinging to his father's legacy like it means something. It doesn't. It's dirt time. He faced that. People looked uncomfortable. Michael stepped forward. We found a buyer. The sale closes in 2 weeks. Dad will finally be free to enjoy retirement instead of being trapped pretending to be someone. He's not. Bill stood up. Wait, Richard loves that farm. Like button. If you're enjoying this, let me tell you what happened. For generations of farmers who accomplished nothing, Susan said coldly, my husband is 60 with nothing to show but a falling apart farmhouse and land he can barely maintain. We're ending this farce before he embarrasses himself further. Silence. Jennifer stood pale. Mom, what are you talking about? Dad's not struggling. Your father has memory issues. He forgets things, gets confused. I've been covering for him, but I can't anymore. He needs professional care, not a farm. I watched Jennifer process this, the confusion, the disbelief. The horror. She looked at me and saw I wasn't surprised. Dad, is this true? I stood and walked to the TV. No, sweetheart, but your mother's been telling people it is for months. Haven't you, Susan? Susan's face flickered. Richard, what? I found the text, the forged deed, everything. Michael went white. My father left me a message to share. I inserted the USB drive. Everyone's going to watch this. Richard, stop. No, sit down. I hit play. My father's face filled the screen. Hello, I'm Thomas Coleman. If you're watching this, Susan and Michael just announced they're selling my farm. Here's what they didn't tell you. They're trying to steal it using forged documents. The deed they have is fake. I created it 15 years ago to catch anyone attempting the scheme. Gasps from the crowd. Susan came to me 12 years ago asking to sell the farm. When I refused, she began a decade-long campaign to undermine my son. I have documentation of every conversation where she told neighbors Richard was confused, forgetful, struggling. He pulled out papers. Michael came to me 2 years before I died, asked if I'd declare Richard legally incompetent so he could take the farm. When I refused, he asked if I'd cut Richard from my will. Dad's not smart enough to manage real wealth. Jennifer made a sound like she'd been struck. Michael stood. That's a lie. Sit down, I said. My father continued. Susan and Michael forged Richard's signature on deed transfers. They planned to sell to Rich Development for $3 million. They arranged to put Richard in Meadowbrook's memory care unit against his will. They forged documents claiming dementia. He held up a folder. I have copies of the forged deed. Text between them planning this theft. Documentation of Susan's manipulation. Proof Michael has $600,000 in gambling debts he'll pay with stolen farm money. The crowd erupted. My father's voice cut through. By using a forged deed to sell property they don't own, they've committed multiple felonies. Real estate fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse, forgery. The police should be arriving now. He leaned back. Richard, I'm proud of you. You love these people. They betrayed you, but you're a Coleman. Colemans protect what's theirs. The screen went black. Every person stared at Susan and Michael. Susan shook. This is insane. He wasn't senile, my lawyer said, standing from the crowd. I was present when he recorded it. His doctor was present. It's legally admissible. Michael bolted. 2 officers waiting by the fence stepped into his path. Michael Coleman, we have a warrant for real estate fraud, conspiracy, and forgery. Susan screamed. No, Richard, I'm your wife. You were my wife? Now you're someone who tried to steal my father's legacy and destroy me. The officer approached Susan. We have a warrant for your arrest. She turned to the crowd desperate. Please, he's lying. Richard's been confused. Ask anyone. I spoke to your neighbors. My lawyer said. When I told them you fabricated stories about Richard's mental state, they were horrified, Mrs. Patterson said you tried to make her notice Richard's confusion at church. She thought you were concerned. Now she knows you were manufacturing evidence. Susan crumpled as they handcuffed them. Jennifer stepped forward crying. How could you do this to Dad? Susan sobbed. Michael looked at me once, not angry, just empty. Dad, I'm sorry. No, you're sorry you got caught. They were led away through 100 witnesses after everyone left. Only Jennifer and my lawyer remained. How long have you known? Jennifer asked. 3 days. You went through with the party anyway. If someone's going to betray you, make sure they do it in front of witnesses. Lies die in sunlight. The trial took 7 months. Susan claimed she was protecting me from declining mental state. 3 doctors showing perfect cognitive function destroyed that defense. Michael claimed he thought the deed was legitimate. Forensic analysis proved he personally commissioned the forgery. The prosecutor was brilliant. This isn't family dispute. This is calculated theft from a vulnerable man on his 60th birthday. They forged documents, planned institutionalization, manufactured incompetence evidence for money. Guilty on all counts. Susan, 5 years federal prison. Michael, 6 years. At Susan's sentencing, I gave my statement. I married you 35 years ago, believing we'd grow old together. Somewhere along the way, you decided my father's land was worth more than our marriage. You spent 10 years undermining me, manufacturing incompetence so you could steal my inheritance and lock me away. But you forgot. My father taught me to trust documents more than words. You underestimated me. Now you'll understand the cost. At Michael's sentencing, Jennifer spoke. Our father raised us to value integrity and family. My brother forgot that. He tried to steal from the man who gave him everything. He deserves this punishment. A year later, I stood on the land my great-grandfather bought in 1924, watching sunset over Coleman Farm. Jennifer had moved back permanently, helping run the farm. We'd started farm totable programs, turned the barn into an events venue. The land was thriving. Susan was released after 4 years, moved to Arizona, got a job at a hardware store. She sent one letter asking for help. I declined. Jennifer blocked her. Michael served 5 years, was released 3 months ago. He sent one letter. Dad, I destroyed everything for money I never got and didn't deserve. Grandpa was right about me. I wasn't worthy of the farm. I'm not worthy of the Coleman name anymore. Sorry doesn't fix what I broke, but it's all I have. I read it 3 times, put it in a drawer, didn't respond. Some betrayals don't get second chances. On my 61st birthday, Jennifer threw a small party. Just close friends, no surprises. Later, she asked, do you regret sending them to prison? No, they didn't just try to steal land. They tried to steal my identity, competence, freedom. They were going to lock me in memory care. That's not a mistake. That's evil. That night, I watched the video one final time. At the end, my father's expression softened. Richard, you didn't lose them today. You lost them years ago when they decided to become people who could do this. That's on them, not you. You're a good man. You're going to be fine. The land is protected. The Coleman name is protected. You're free from people who saw you as an obstacle instead of family. Now go live the life they tried to steal. I'll be watching and I'll be proud. The screen went black. I walked outside and looked at stars over for generations of Coleman land. My great-grandfather's land, my grandfather's land, my father's land, my land. And someday Jennifer's land, protected, thriving, permanent. They thought turning 60 meant I was weak. They forgot Coleman men plan for every betrayal, document every lie. And when someone tries to destroy us, we don't get angry. We get even completely. If this story moved you, if you felt the betrayal, the justice, or the redemption deep inside, please take a moment to hit like. It tells me this story mattered. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words don't just echo, they inspire the next story. And if you believe in stories that stand for truth, loyalty, and poetic justice, please subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell. You're not just a viewer, you're part of this journey. Thank you for being